Yes, it's almost the end of the year, and I'm casting my mind back over the events of 2022 and thinking about it, and it draws me back to last year when I said to everybody what my New Year's resolution was going to be, which is be less fat, which is something I'm going to try and continue into the next year, because sadly my New Year's resolution to break the news for everyone hasn't been as successful as I was hoping.
Hang on, it's not New Year's, so it doesn't...
It's not New Year's, so it's not over, but unless I lose like £10 in the next 3 days...
I thought it was you had to start your New Year's resolution on the 1st.
Yeah, well, I'm just carrying it on. It's the same New Year's resolution, just be in better shape, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, if it was your old one, then yeah, I mean... That's...
Yeah, it's just the same one. It's a
Still
really
applies.
lazy way of doing it, I know, but still, this is my rules.
All right,
I can do what I want, okay? This is my segment. I do what I want, all right? So, yeah, I was just thinking back and thinking about how I should have been less fat, and it wasn't as successful, although the past few months have been pretty good, been, working out. And then I look around online for subjects related to this and find, as always, that there are magazines, specifically Time, who seem to be going on a crusade against fitness by trying to label it as white supremacy. If you go to the gym, you lift weights, you want to get hench, you want to feel good about yourself, white supremacy, just blatant racist. This is why you're the least racist person in the office, seeing as you don't lift.
I don't waste my time on that, no.
No, you don't waste your time cultivating the white supremacy. Every single bicep
I'm an
curl,
anti-racist, actually. I
I
eat cake for breakfast.
every single bicep curl gets me closer to rank of Grand Wizard. If you need something to push you to the end of your sets, that's what you got to do. You just got to think, next rank, baby. But yeah, there's always loads of articles to go over the past few years, and I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 reasons why it is that they want to discourage people to be fit. Because obviously if they call you a racist or white supremacist, what that actually means is evil. You don't want to be evil, do you? So eat the slop. Eat the burger. Have the Five Guys.
Yeah.
And I have indulged a little bit too much in the Five Guys this year, I will admit, but I shouldn't have, and I recognise that, and I'm looking to rectify that. But you're easier to control when you're fat and lazy, because your behaviour reflects your attitudes to things. So if your behaviour is the old Aristotelian, like your habits make the man. So if you're going out and trying to improve yourself, working out and doing all this good stuff, which will just generally make you feel better, you're going to probably be more independent, certainly more independently minded. You're going to have to develop discipline. You're going to have to develop lots of skills to be able to keep on top of your fitness, which are going to make you more difficult to fool. Also, second reason, progressives generally are fat and ugly, and it makes them feel bad to see people who look better than them. And those,
I mean, fact check, true.
I've not done any Scientific American. I've not done any studies on this.
Source?
But I have 2 eyes which operate pretty damn well. In fact, 20/20 vision almost. So yeah, I've got good lens to view the world from. And this is all the sort of stuff that's covered in a recent premium article from John Tangney, which has got, if for our silver members, it's got an audio track if you can't be bothered to read and you'd rather listen, called Fitness Politics, and it's similar to an article I wrote a few months ago, which is talking about if you are working out, if you're dedicated to your fitness, especially the diet, because the diet is where most of the fat loss is going to come from, and it's easily the most difficult part. You think deadlifting above your own body weight might be difficult if you're a beginner? Try sticking to a good diet for a few months, and that's the real killer. But he's talking about how if you do this, you'll be creating good habits for yourself which are going to apply wonderfully to other aspects of your life, and it's a really interesting article, so I'd recommend reading that if you get the chance. But this is what drew my attention to this subject, which was I saw Times on Twitter were advertising an article called this: The White Supremacist Origins of Exercise, and 6 other surprising facts about the history of US physical fitness. So this isn't just saying, white supremacists like to exercise. No, it's saying the idea of exercise in the first place is rooted in white supremacy. The only people who've ever wanted to get in shape have been Hitler.
He wasn't very in shape.
No, he wasn't. But he wanted to be, and he encouraged people to be. Therefore, getting in shape is evil.
That's a good point, actually. Hang on. Were there any in-shape Nazis? I can't think of one. Like, Hermann Goring was the big fat man.
Yeah, I've seen lots of pictures of Nazis. And
Goebbels is like gangly.
Yeah, they seem to either be really unhealthily skinny, fat, or overweight. None of them are in, like, peak fitness shape.
No. I actually can't think of a single one that comes to mind.
No, but this article, like I say, it's basically just trying to do the classic thing because the left know how to play the frame game for a lot of people, which is you've got to build up negative associations with positive concepts so that people then start to feel bad about exercising and instead get used to their lovely pod living where they can just eat nothing but bugs, which I'm sure are nutritionally beneficial. Maybe they try and tell you it's full of protein. I don't want to eat bugs. Sorry, John, if you're watching this live right now, I just don't want to do it. They want you to eat the bugs, lay around watching Netflix and watching porn and cooming and doing nothing that's good for you. So that's what you do. So I see this as you have a moral duty to exercise and get into shape just to annoy pricks like this. So this article is basically just an interview with some author, a guy called Natalia Melman apologies for
You're
this.
giving me a run for my money.
Petrzela. Can you read that name? There it is. Natalia Melman Petrzela. Go on, give it a go. Go on.
I almost want to just say Pret. Like, who will make my coffee at Pret? That kind of Pret?
Oh, Pet.
Pet.
Yeah. Who's going to make my coffee at Pet?
Pizzilla? Pizzilla?
Close enough. He's got a book out called Fit Nation, The Gains and Pains of America's Exercise Obsession. I don't know if he's seen the statistics of Americans, but I don't see it as much of an obsession.
No. I just also saw the show, like, get a better name, idiot.
Yes, dumbass. Get better parents. You chose the wrong parents, dumbass.
That's just mean.
Yeah. But they say, this article goes on to say, nowadays, at the beginning of every new year, many Americans hit the gym to go work off their holiday feasts, as you should. This momentum usually starts to fade in mid-January, according to a 2019 analysis of data on fitness tracking apps by Bloomberg. And this is a big thing. People will get into their New Year's resolution, go to the gym consistently for maybe a week or two, and then just completely drop off and never ever go again, which is bad. You shouldn't do that, but at the same time, kind of works for me, because it means I don't have to wait around for the machines and free weights constantly after about mid-January, which can be a bit of a pain, but still. But such New Year's resolutions, it says, are pretty new, as is the concept of exercise as a way to improve bodily health. I don't know quite how accurate that statement is, but fair, okay. It's not really until the 1980s that you start to have a consensus that everybody should be doing some form of exercise, says Pet, who is a professor at the New School in New York City. I don't trust this man, given some of the things he says later. I don't believe this man. I think people knew that exercise was good for you before the 1980s. It might have just been due to other factors.
Like the diet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the diet of Westerners has changed
The
tremendously.
diet has changed massively, and prior to the 1980s and 1970s, I think there were quite a few social and economic factors, meaning that a lot of people weren't able to get as much food as they could have. You know, there's plenty of stuff. There was these things
just the
called
price
like
of
these
food.
big wars.
Yeah,
you know,
but
two big wars, rationing.
You ever seen this? There's this photograph. It's some guy from the Austro-Hungarian Empire who's kind of fat, and he was known as the Fat Man, and people would pay money to go and see him.
Just because he was really fat.
Yeah, but these days he's just like average American.
Oh yeah, I have seen that guy. He looked like a smaller Ethan Klein.
Yeah. There we are.
Yeah, that's just how we've got. Just average fat man in America 150 years ago would have been a circus sideshow. But yeah, so he's pointing out throughout this that fatness used to be a sign of wealth and prosperity because it meant that you could afford enough food to get fat. Now he says it's a sign of being poor, and I would say the two are correlated, but basically everybody is fatter than they used to be. If I was around in the 1950s, I probably wouldn't have quite as much of this. And Carl does have his arguments, his little conspiracy theories about seed oils. I've not read into it. I've not looked into it. Does come across a little bit tinfoil hat to me. But if you do have any information on seed oils that could convince me,
I don't
let me
actually
know.
understand the seed oils thing. Like, I know the meme, but I don't really get what it is.
As far as I can tell from Carl and Rory going on about it, it's seed oils never used to be in foods until maybe the 70s or 80s, and it's around that time you start to see the massive trend of people just getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
Right, okay, so it's big seed.
It's big seed.
All right.
And it's rapeseed oil, so who knows? But there's lots of other factors that go into it. And then he talks about particular writers from the 20th century examining fitness, and says they're saying white women should start building up their strength because we need more white babies. They're writing during an incredible amount of immigration, soon after enslaved people had been emancipated.
Hang on, well, we're taking a bit of a turn.
Yep. It goes exactly where you expect it to. It's just like here's a little bit of the actual objective history of fitness.
People
and
got
all
fatter in
these
the
things.
70s. So anyway, white supremacists are saying have babies.
Yep.
Okay.
That's where it always goes. They always just do that. They go like, here's some actual interesting, maybe objective facts and history that might entice some people in. By the way, if you agree with any of these old opinions, you're a racist. Okay, you think fitness is good for you? Racist. There you go. And he says this is totally a part of white supremacy, of a white supremacy project. So that was a real holy crap moment as a historian, where deep archival research really reveals the contradictions of this moment. And maybe also in like the early 20th century, he's talking about like the 1920s, maybe a war had just ended. A war had just ended, lots of people were dead, and they're like, we might want to be ready for another war, and we might want to have more babies. Just a suggestion. But he does end with something in this interview that I kind of agree with, where the interviewer asks, what's the future of fitness? And he just says, I would love for the future of fitness not only to be about Wi-Fi connected treadmills and luxury clubs where people can go hang out and drink green juice after their workout, but rather for a collective public investment in making fitness and recreation available to everybody and much more accessible than it currently is. So I agree with the kind of sentiment of this, which is everybody should work out, everybody should do their best to be as healthy as possible. Kind of goes against the title, which suggests that if you're fit, you're a white supremacist. But he is basically saying what we need there is the communist gyms. We need the state-run gyms, which will inevitably be rubbish. And but I would suggest something a bit more practical. That would be the fat tax. You need to get a certain point percentage on your BMI score, and if you exceed that, you're going to get taxed. Extra tax. Come on, putting more strain on the NHS, fatty. Pay up. You know you are.
Supporter of the NHS all along.
Yeah, that's right. We can always circle this back to worship of the NHS.
Telling you, man.
At the end of the day, I mean, to be fair, if you did actually put it forward as how we save the NHS, we implement the fat tax.
Oh, they already have. I mean, like in the UK, I believe, what is it? We've got a sugar tax. That's one thing we have. The Americans don't.
Well, these are kind of indirect. The sugar tax and all that stuff.
There was also a proposal of putting it on fatty foods, and also in Scotland they banned, what was it, 2-for-1 offers? So
banned 2-for-1 offers?
Yeah, as if that means anything.
Okay. So people will just spend slightly more to get fat.
Well, you get 3 for 2.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So they've made it worse. No, but instead of all those indirect nonsense, just cut straight to the chase and just say, fatty, you passed a certain point percentage on your BMI, there you go. Get an extra 50% tax. The socialists would love it. They're good at being skinny anyway. And with all these sorts of articles coming out, I am surprised that Time didn't choose Lizzo as Person of the Year, as opposed to Zelensky, who they ended up running with, but there's always next year. We are in Lizzo Nation, after all. And this article, actually, given that there is some interesting stuff, isn't as bad as some others that come out and just outright say going to the gym is bad. Because it makes you right-wing, because it makes you more based. Like this classic from about over 5 years ago from Vice, gym bros more likely to be right-wing assholes, science confirms. This is one that's been memed to the ends of the earth and back, and it was based on research from Brunel University found that physically strong men who regularly go to the gym are more likely to be right-wing and support social and economic inequality than weaker men. I like that use of the term weaker men. That's right. If you don't believe in right-wing values, you're weak. That's correct. And then I found this amazing one that was shared on Twitter right before we went on. It's from 2020, but Scientific American decided that they wanted to join in with the conflagration of voices, all pushing the actually, if you don't want to be fat, you're racist argument, talking about the racist roots of fighting obesity.
I just love at the bottom, support science journalism. Give us money for this crap.
Yeah, every single time. And the argument for this is literally, and just focus on this image, because this image just sums the entire article up. The argument is, and this I don't think is very scientific, this line of logic is black women tend to be fatter than all other groups in the US, and therefore suffer more disease. Therefore, fighting obesity equals racism. Have I convinced you yet?
No, funnily enough.
Are you not going to jump down to McDonald's after this is done and gorge yourself on Big Macs?
What, so in support of black women?
Yes, it's solidarity.
Because that's how that works.
Are you not an ally?
No.
How good an ally you are can be measured exactly by how wide your waist is.
You know that samurai meme with the flag and the just guys going, I hope we lose? That's the kind of ally I am.
Okay.
At that point.
You're that guy. You're the malnourished ally at the side.
Yeah. We're all going to be obese black women. I was like, no. No.
I mean, this is Lizzo Nation thinking right now. And then, once again, like I said, it's Time against fitness, because Time came out with the white supremacy argument, and then last month they came out with this one, why the idea of a normal body is so insidious. A normal body not being something that you can really quantify. But I think we all know what we mean when we say a normal body.
Not extreme.
Yeah, just not extremely obese or extremely skinny. I've seen some frighteningly skinny people on YouTube. There's that girl, I forget what her name is. She's notorious for being just anorexic. And people are basically cheering her on as she kills herself through not eating and going through these extreme fad diets. It's honestly grotesque to see. That's not normal. Being morbidly obese also isn't normal. Even being a gigantic genetic jackhammer spruced to the gills on PEDs and steroids also isn't normal, and also isn't good for your health, because that will destroy your heart doing that sort of thing. What we mean when we say normal body is, like you say, just not extreme. Nice and simple. But apparently, normal is an insidious concept, and one that the fashion industry has long tried to define. That's right.
Yeah.
It's insidious. You want to be normal. You want to not be unusual. You want to be healthy. That's insidious.
I've got these clothes to sell. I want to sell it to the largest possible audience. Well, let's find what the commonalities of all the average person is, put them together, and call that the normal person, and put the clothes on that. Mm-hmm. That's insidious. That's me trying to make sure the clothes fit you.
It's evil, and I think we'll find as we go on to the next one after this that it's not the argument that this woman is putting forward, which is exactly what you would expect, which is that clothing having certain sizes that apply to you that you may not necessarily fit in mean that you might feel bad about yourself. At which point I would just say, well, if you're too big for a particular size, just go for the next size up. Sorry if that makes you feel bad about yourself, but you want clothes that fit, right?
Who hasn't been there?
Yeah, I'm there. I get there sometimes. But the point that this article is, and so many others are trying to put forward, is the classic, we're not allowed to recognise patterns and trends. They're evil. We can define anything, well, we can't define anything by the average, the normal. We now have to redefine and centre everything in society around the exceptions and the margins to make freaks, fatties and weirdos feel better about themselves. It's just not how society should function. And yeah, obviously, with women's clothes in particular, I know a lot of people complain that the sizing tends to be off. But in this next article, I found, because actually, before we go over to it, can you guess where this article eventually goes? Normal, insidious, fitness, fatness.
Maybe a new normal they want to propose?
No. Can you guess what they put the root of all of this to?
Is it white people?
It's white people.
Wow.
It's white supremacy. That's right. That's correct. She says. She even says the article is trying to equate the standard normal body type aesthetic with eugenics and white supremacy. Exactly where you would expect it to go. Although there is an interesting statement further on down in this article that just outright says the idea of normal, it seems, always comes with some kind of agenda. And if we were to take that statement literally, then we can also assume the inverse, which is the idea of the abnormal, which we're promoted constantly and told is actually just the new normal, and therefore it's wrong to oppose it, must also come with some kind of agenda as well. But that's not happening. Oh wait, it is happening, but it's not that actually it's a good thing, and actually you're a problem if you complain about it. That's where this logic always goes. You're not supposed to recognise the agenda, recognise the patterns, but realistically speaking, we all know what normal means when we're talking about body size and such, and we all know that it's relatively healthy for most people to go within those. Genetics will define how you look in particular. Genetics will be unique to you that cause some issues, like even somebody like The Rock, for instance. The Rock's like almost 50. He's huge, massively muscular, doesn't have abs. That's just down to his genetics. That's something that he can't help. It's something that nobody could help in that situation. But we still know what normal means. And like I say, this next article I found from the goodhousekeeping.com, if you could just scroll down here, so there's Marilyn Monroe, considered a beauty in her time. We can see what's listed here. What does this graph appear to show to you? It appears to me that the same sizing, labelled sizing that is, has actually been going up in actual size, in waist, in inches and such.
So for those
since the 1950s, yeah.
So we have one side of the graph is your waist in inches, and on the other side is just time. And we'll take an example, size 8 was, what was that, 23 inches?
Yeah, about 23 inches or so.
And now it is about 29
Almost
inches.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they say here is that some brands apply vanity sizing where they label dresses smaller than they actually are to make customers feel better about their size. So this Time article arguing that clothing makes women feel bad about themselves if they're too fat for the clothes. Sorry, the fashion industry has already been doing everything in its power to accommodate you.
Look at that jump up for size 20. Used to be 32 inches, is now 40.
Yeah, whereas now, what was size 20 in 1958, around 32 inches, is now a size 12. And that was only in 2011. Given the trend seems to just be going up and up and up, I wouldn't be surprised if size 20 is now also considered a bit bigger as well. So, yeah.
Can we scroll down just, I kind of want to see the bust one as well.
Yeah, the bust has also been going up massively.
Is that just...
This one I'm not as bad about. I can accept this.
Well, they're incongruent, aren't they?
Yeah, the two are connected to one another, but basically the point of this segment is just that fitness is good, going to the gym is good. If you do decide to get a gym membership as part of your New Year's resolution for this year, try and stick at it. It will be good for you if you can develop the sorts of habits and procedures that will be able to get you into better shape. It will apply to the rest of your life as well, and you'll feel much better about yourself. So yeah, just carry on, be less fat.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Comics Corner that Harry does, and this one on the Kingdom Come and 90s comics. And if you'd like to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.